Welcome back to Kleppers Corner. Today in history, where we celebrate humanity's endless cycle of chaos, paperwork, and bad timing. And today, November 11th, is the Super Bowl of historical irony. It's a day where wars end, colonies declare independence, philosophers die of existential exhaustion, and the British somehow manage to turn public grief into a highly organized floral fundraiser. Because November 11th isn't just a date, it's a vibe. It's the only day in history that said, you know what, let's stop shooting, but also start several new governments. Let's dig in. Segment 1, the 11th hour. At 11 a.m. on November 11th, 1918, the guns of World War I fell silent. And the world collectively went, wait, so it's over? The Armistice of Compiègne was signed in a train car in France by people who looked like they hadn't slept since 1914. The Germans showed up saying, we'd like to negotiate, and Marshal Foch basically said, that's cute, sign here. The Germans sent a civilian to surrender, Matthias Erzberger, while the actual generals stayed home polishing their medals and excuses. That's like sending your accountant to tap out at the end of a UFC match. The result? A peace so humiliating it practically came with a coupon for World War II. By 5 a.m., it was signed. By 11 a.m., it was official. And by noon, people were already arguing about whose fault it was. The armistice didn't just end a war. It invented a century of sequel opportunities. Segment 2, the Compiègne irony. Fast forward to 1940. Adolf Hitler, the world's angriest art school reject, decides to reenact history, but this time as a revenge fantasy. He drags out the same train car, same forest, same spot, like a dictator doing historical cosplay, and forces France to surrender inside it. Afterward, he destroys the whole site, because nothing screams, I'm totally over it, like dynamiting a museum. It was pure theater. Hitler didn't just win militarily, he wanted to humiliate France with choreography. That's the thing about November 11th. Even when it's about peace, it can't resist a little pettiness. Segment 3, known but to God. After a war that killed millions and identified very few, the world needed a symbol of grief that didn't require a name tag. So in 1920, the British entombed an unknown soldier in Westminster Abbey. The U.S. followed with Arlington's Tomb of the Unknown Soldier a year later. The idea was genius. One body to mourn them all. A universal tomb that said, we don't know who's in here, but we sure as hell know why. And of course, because humanity can't stop branding tragedy, we got merch. Enter the red poppy. Inspired by the poem In Flanders Fields, the poppy became the go-to symbol of remembrance. Simple, bright, and easy to stick on a lapel next to your Tesco loyalty card. Meanwhile, America took a more thank you for your service vibe, rebranding Armistice Day as Veterans Day in 1954. Because we don't do somber, we do parades. In the UK, it's Lest We Forget. In the US, it's Don't Forget the Mattress Sale. Segment 4, the Founders' Fine Print. Long before armistices and poppies, November 11th, 1620 brought us something even rarer, early American teamwork. When the Mayflower landed way off course, the colonists realized they had no legal authority where they landed. So, like any group project gone wrong, they decided to make a contract. The Mayflower Compact. It basically said, we agree not to murder each other and to obey laws we haven't written yet. Which, frankly, is still better than most HOA agreements. This little shipboard pact planted the seed for American democracy. A radical idea. Maybe power comes from the people, assuming those people are male, white, and have names like Ezekiel or Obadiah. 2.5 centuries later, November 11th struck again. This time with Washington State joining the Union in 1889. The Mayflower gave us theory. Washington gave us bureaucracy. The circle was complete. Segment 5, declarations and dismissals. Jump to November 11th, 1965. Rhodesia declares independence from Britain, not for freedom, but for the right to keep being a racist minority government. Prime Minister Ian Smith, who fought for the British in World War II, basically said, we love the empire, we just hate the equality part. He chose Remembrance Day for the declaration. Subtle, like hosting a divorce party on your ex's birthday. Then, exactly 10 years later, November 11th, 1975, Chaos in the Commonwealth, Part 2. Angola declares independence from Portugal, which instantly devolves into a 27-year civil war. And that same day, across the world, Australia's Governor-General fired his own Prime Minister, Gough Whitlam. That's right, the Queen's representative just went, "You're fired, mate." November 11th apparently has a part-time job as the world's HR department. Segment 6, Rebels, Martyrs, and Microbes. If November 11th had a motto, it might be, "Today in Executions." 1831, Nat Turner, leader of a slave revolt, was hanged. 1880, Ned Kelly, the Australian outlaw in homemade armor, was hanged. 1887, 4 anarchists from the Haymarket Affair were hanged. Apparently, if you were anti-establishment in the 19th century, November 11th was not your lucky day. Even disease got in on the act. 1938, Typhoid Mary Mallon died in quarantine after infecting half of New York. Proof that even bacteria can make history, though not necessarily good dinner guests. November 11th, where rebellion meets hygiene policy. Segment 7, Stars, Songs, and Science. Not every November 11th was about war or politics. Some were just about blowing up stars and inventing calculus. In 1572, Tycho Brahe spotted a new supernova, proving the heavens weren't as perfect as Aristotle claimed, which, in science terms, is like telling the Pope his outfit clashes. Then in 1675, Leibniz invented calculus. Without him, engineers wouldn't exist, and Elon Musk would have one less way to justify bad behavior with math metaphors. Fast forward, November 11th, 1926, America builds its road network. Route 66 is born. A few years later, November 11th, 1938, Kate Smith sings "God Bless America" for the first time, and the country goes, "Yeah, that's catchy. Let's use it forever." 1966 brings Gemini 12, the last Gemini flight, where Buzz Aldrin proved humans could walk in space without dying of dizziness. By 1992, even the Church of England got into the innovation game, voting to allow women priests, which, for them, was like switching from dial-up to Wi-Fi. And just recently, November 11th, 2022, Ukrainian forces liberated Kherson. Because even in the 21st century, November 11th still finds new ways to echo with the word freedom. Segment 8, The People and the Patterns. The people born or gone on this day might as well be the dinner guest at the strangest afterlife reunion ever. Born today, Dostoevsky, the philosopher of suffering, Patton, the general of chaos, and Kurt Vonnegut, the only man to make war trauma sound funny. Died today, Kierkegaard, the philosopher of anxiety, and Yasser Arafat, the politician of perpetual crisis. It's like the universe said, we're keeping the energy consistent. November 11th doesn't play favorites. It's a date for geniuses, generals, and existential dread. It's the one day of the year that perfectly sums up humanity. Brilliant, tragic, hopeful, and very, very tired. In conclusion, so what does November 11th really mean? It's the day humanity stops killing long enough to build something new, and then argues about it immediately after. From the trenches of France to the decks of the Mayflower, from colonial rebellions to cosmic revelations, November 11th has always been about transitions, endings and beginnings, chaos and creation. It's a day of silence, but also of echoes. The silence of the guns, the silence of the unknown graves, the silence before the next great leap or the next great mess. Every year when the clock hits the 11th hour, we pause. Not just to remember the dead, but to remember that every peace we build is only as strong as our memory of the last war. And maybe, just maybe, that's the lesson. History doesn't repeat. It just refuses to stop talking. And November 11th is when it whispers, listen.